Hi, my name is Roger Cornell, and this video will serve as the presentation portion of my final project. The topic we will be discussing today is the emerging field of web security. The reason I chose this topic, and the reason that it stood out to me a little bit more than some of the other topics, was partially due to an interaction that I had with a friend a few months ago. My friend and I were going to buy some textbooks online. When she turned her computer on, she got a notification to update her antivirus software. Instead of doing it, she just dismissed the notification and went on buying books. And over the course of the day, she visited numerous websites and entered credit card info to a few of those. Later that day, I asked her how long it had been since she actually updated her antivirus. She told me that it had been about 2 months, and this shocked me a little. How could someone feel so comfortable surfing the web and entering their credit card information while using a computer with a severely outdated antivirus? So I started talking to my family and my friends and basically just asking them about their basic knowledge on web security, antiviruses, and the like. In general, I found that people do not tend to think that outdated antivirus software necessarily makes them less secure. And this means that a majority of people, or at least a majority of the people that I talk to, do not even have a basic grasp of security topics. Here I will begin to actually dive a little bit more into web security. And I want to start with a bit of history on two of the most devastating web security breaches that I've ever seen, at least. The first happened in mid-April of 2011. The attack was targeted at Sony's PlayStation Network, an online service that allows PlayStation owners to purchase and play video games. Hackers were able to acquire the account information of over 77 million users, and among other sensitive info, many users' credit card information were stolen. On top of this, Sony was forced to take down the PSN and other services that they offered for over a month. And I actually was a PlayStation Network user at this time. Luckily, I did not have my credit card on there, but I did have to wait the month to play any video games, just like everyone else. The next incident occurred about a year ago. A government agency was hacked, leaking information on over 20 million individuals who had applied for various security clearances. And along with these people, their families were actually affected as well. And the data breached included health, criminal, financial records, as well as social security numbers of those who had data leaked on them. And just these two incidences alone cost the government and businesses millions and millions of dollars. Not to mention this, the money loss and the stress endured by individuals whose information was actually stolen. And with that history in mind, let's look at some of the things that attackers might have used in those and other situations to gain access to people's information. The first thing that they might have done is a method called phishing. And basically what phishing is an attacker masquerades as a legitimate website or source in order to trick people into entering whatever they are trying to get them to enter. And here, once they enter, all kinds of malware and malicious things can be downloaded onto the target computer. And malware is any type of software designed to do something malicious to a target computer. And all kinds of different things fall into this category, such as spyware, adware, viruses, things such as that. Spyware basically collects info about a target and sends it to the attacker. Adware gives you basically unwanted ads, and I actually had a personal experience with adware, a type of adware called a browser hijacker, and it did exactly what it sounds like it does, and it literally took over my web browser. Basically, it changed my search engine, it changed my home page, and it put ads into every single web page that I visited. Google had ads, and YouTube had ads, and Facebook had all kinds of ads, and these ads were ridiculous. And if I would accidentally click on one of these ads during the time that my computer was infected with this, it would just wreak havoc on it, and a lot of the times my computer would actually end up crashing just from visiting whatever site that I happened to enter after accidentally clicking one of these ads. But viruses are another type of malware, and a virus can actually be spyware or adware or nagware or any of the other types of malware. But the basic distinction for a virus is that it is self-replicating. So basically, a virus can autonomously replicate itself and infect another computer without the use of any sort of human. And a couple more direct types of attacks here. These are what bigger businesses would be a little bit more afraid of. Denial of service attacks and distributed denial of service attacks. And basically, in a DDoS attack, a attacker finds a way to infect hundreds or thousands of computers with Trojan horse viruses, and those computers will then systematically send useless, just ridiculous amounts of useless information to flood a target network's. And then basically what happens there is that there is so much going through that target network that it is forced to come down for hours, sometimes even days. And the last one we have here is a man-in-the-middle attack, and basically that is exactly what it sounds like. Somebody sits virtually, of course, in the middle of two different parties that are trying to communicate with each other, and from that position he actually can see and manipulate all of the information that goes between them. And of course, these are just a small sliver of the staggering amounts of methods and exploits that attackers can use, with new ones emerging every single day. Alright, so now that we've established some of the things that can happen when there is a lack of web security, let's discuss what web security actually is. For the purposes of this paper and presentation, web security can be defined as any endeavor to protect sensitive data and other assets available on a web server. This can include the use of certain hardware and software and even simple precautions taken when using the web. Alright, so why is web security important? And more specifically, why is web security important to the average American at home? Or why is web security important to the small business owner, or the big corporate executive, or the government official? The answer is simple. Every single one of these people, in every single case that I just mentioned, uses the web every day. They use it as a tool to promote business, or to store information, or as a source of knowledge, or any number of other things. On top of this, the web is very complicated, and as time goes by, it is increasing in complexity. For example, a simple web page in today's world could consist of content from 1, 5, 10, many different sources, and in some cases, all of this content from all of these sources can even access and manipulate each other. And this includes things that have your cookies, which, have your cookies, which store things like your passwords and all of that good stuff. And finally, the web is increasingly being used to work with people's most sensitive data, things such as people's financial information and social security number, their credit card numbers, and this information in the wrong hands could literally destroy someone's life. And this is why, for this reason, web security is a concern for anyone and everyone who accesses and uses the web. And here's where I will sort of present my big point of my paper here. When I started this project, I had a few different routes that I could take when going about it. The first option was simply to look up some threats and look up ways to prevent those threats and then present them in a paper and in a presentation in a step-by-step format. And for me, this didn't seem like it would mean anything to anybody. I mean, there are no original ideas there. I'm basically just looking up what people have done and regurgitating it out to you. The next route was to create my own method of defense against a single type of attack or a couple type of attacks, and again present it in a step-by-step linear form. This still didn't seem like it would mean anything to anybody because, this is already being done. So when when there's when there's a new virus coming out, there are immediately people working to find ways to prevent that virus from affecting any other computers. So then I started to think about, with these two options off the table, I started to think about why and how security breaches are able to occur, and what were the similarities between the different security breaches. And when I was doing my research, I noticed that in every security hack or security breach I could find, there was always someone who made a statement that was similar to, I wish we would have taken measures to increase security sooner, or I regret not spending more on our network and web security. And then it dawned on me, the biggest change that we can make in today's society to make networks more secure in general is to educate everyone, especially those who are a little bit less tech savvy. The importance of concepts of web security should be taught to even those who just sit at a computer all day and write Word documents. From there, we must take a holistic, layered approach to web security, and everyone must do their part. And what this means is that companies and organizations will still implement firewalls, they'll still use proxy servers and other hardware and software to ensure web security, but they will also educate their workers on how to browse the web safely. It is unacceptable that there should be those who use the web all day for their jobs and yet don't understand basic security procedures. And, for example, don't understand that if you don't update your antivirus, then it literally doesn't have definitions for any of the new viruses that have just came out. As for people such as, business executives, they too could benefit from education in web security. After all, a huge portion of businesses is done online, and it is of utmost importance to understand how to protect your business assets. Think about how much money, stress, and time that could have been saved if Sony's executives had just taken a little bit more time to ensure that their network was secure. And with that, I will conclude the presentation portion of my final project. Have a good day.